Hi everyone.
Okay,
Okay. Bukula.
yeah, I just wanted to send a signal to you. So over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Bukula. So, hello everyone. This is Anthony from the Let's Connect working group, and I welcome you all to today's learning clinic. We have three amazing people here today from Wiki in Africa, Wiki Advocates Philippines, Indic, MediaWiki Developers user group. So, today's clinic is the first of three-part series of Let's Connect Grantee Partner Learning Conversations. And next slide, please. For Wiki in Africa, we have Isla, and Wiki Advocates Philippines, we have Imelda, and for Indic MediaWiki Developers User Group, we have Prakash. So let's discuss first the Let's Connect culture. Here's what we need to know before we start the session. Let's Connect is a collaborative work between the volunteers and the WMF. So be comfortable while listening, since we are here not just to learn, but to enjoy sharing with other participants. We also remind all participants that we follow the friendly space policy during the session, so feel free to chat the facilitators if you would encounter some problems. Lastly, while about we were we were to learn something new from the sharers, we as participants can also learn from each other through our experiences. And next slide, please. So why are we here today? This is to learn from three grantees through their experience in campaign organizing, partnerships, volunteer management, and other affiliate works. We will learn how they manage through obstacles and achieve their goals. And for more discussions about the details of this clinic, let me call Veronica.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So thank you again, everyone, for being here. Apologies if I switch on my camera, the audio will go. We're having a power outage and internet has been affected. But very quickly, the reason why we thought we've first of all to appreciate all grantee partners who've been able to take time to prepare for today's session, and to everyone who's joining us to listen and learn and co-learn with as thought partners to the grantee partners. A core part of this session, comes from feedback, conversations we've had in the past where first, there's an interest in community members understanding and learning about. We see community members or different community organizations, whether you're an affiliate or not, receiving resources to support their community work and efforts, some in collaboration with others, but there wasn't that, space to go a little bit deeper beyond reading their application or available reports. Sometimes there's more learning that happens when, people actually connect in a virtual setting or, where possible in an in-person setting. That's number one. Number two, that even amongst grantee partners, there was, a sense that we would love to learn what's happening, not only within our regions, but also across regions. Hence the reason why we thought, why don't we have a cross-regional conversation? This is the first one. And again, really appreciating everyone who's been part of this, the first one. And we hope to also learn from it to be able to improve this process, ensuring it's useful for everyone who's here. And then at the same time, really hope that because we know our partners have best practices, tools that either they've finessed over time, created over time, that these are also available for anyone who's here who can use, whether it's another partner or a community member participating in the call. So that was the vision of bringing more spaces to showcase, to storytell about the work of our grant partners, but also create a space where we are continuously, in the spirit of Let's Connect, connecting with each other, but sharing in these learnings across regions as well. So I will stop here in case we're really looking forward for your feedback. Let us know, does this work? Is this useful later? But really thankful to the grantee partners who will be here. And passing it to Chino. Oh, Anthony. Oh, Bukola,
Yeah.
it's you.
Yeah, thank you, Veronica, for giving us a background as to why we are having this clinic. And this takes us to the next most interesting part of our clinic, one of the interesting parts though, where we get to do an icebreaker. And we have this very interesting question that we like everyone in the room to respond to. I'll be sharing my my slides back, and I find it very interesting. And the question is, yeah, I'm just trying to pop that up and I'll drop the link in the chat. Okay, it's taking a while to load. Yeah, so the question is, what was your dream job or profession when you were a kid? So for some of us, when we were a kid, we wanted to be something else, like we wanted to be a lawyer. Like I, for one, wanted to be a lawyer. But finally, I discovered that over time, I had changed my dream job, my passion, to align with open knowledge. And I find myself becoming a certified librarian. So I would like to hear from everyone in the room. When you were a kid, what was your dream job? What was that profession that you so much dreamed to become? And I'm trying to open that up on the retro board, but I don't know why it's taking a lot of time to load. Okay, here we have it. So I see some interesting comments already. Yeah, someone wanted to also be a lawyer. So I hope you were able to achieve that. And somebody said a detective. And I can see a flight attendant, a philosopher, an economist. I would also like to hear, like, what were some of those things that uh, that drove your passion towards all of these dream jobs? Someone said a dancer. Well, that's interesting to know. And of course, you can still be a dancer, but maybe not professionally, right? And someone said a veterinarian. Isla, would you want to maybe expand more on that? I see fashion designer, economist. Yeah, these are interesting. In neurosurgeon, that's good to know. An accountant, fashion designer, Cassie. Okay, I see you're doing designing as part of the clinics that we do. Although maybe not with clothes, but more with clinics. Someone said civil engineer. That's good to know. I hope you were able to achieve that, Obed. Medical doctor. These are interesting things. A Wikimedian. Really? CEO. Oh my God. Okay. I don't think CEO is like a profession or a job that you grow into becoming a CEO. Yeah. But that's, as kids, we always dream of so many things, right? I wanted to be a lot of things at different times, a doctor, a pilot, a newscaster. Okay, also a mom. Wow. Yeah, sometimes we are at a different stage of our lives. We tend to want to become so many things, like Harriet has said. At some point, I also wanted to become a medical doctor because, you know, I like the way they put on the white coats. And I see some interesting comments from Jessica. Also a mom, the hardest one. Yeah, but sometimes it's a very good one. Yeah, thank you all. This has really been so good to know, interesting to discover all of our dream jobs. And I hope that even though we are not doing some of these things now, I'm sure we are in a better place right now. And we can, if we want to, still try to achieve some of these things, right? Yeah. So I'm still looking to see if we are getting any other interesting comments. The question is, what was your dream job or profession when you were a kid? And if there are none, we can move to the next agenda. So please note that the section is interpreted in both French and Mandarin Chinese. So you might want to use the interpretation button to switch from the main clinic language. Okay, thank you all. This is really interesting to know. I see some very funny ones. CEO, a Wikimedian, while you were young, while you were a kid. Wow, that's so amazing, right? And with this, I would move on to the next part of our clinic. And that takes us to the first sharer. And this takes us to the first sharer and the case study program, which we'll be looking at. And that's Wiki in Africa, where Isla would be sharing her experience around the clinic topic. So I would pass the virtual mic to Isla and also just switch between my screen.
Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you so much, Cassie and Veronica and Bakola and Anthony. The whole process towards this has been absolutely fantastic and so well organized. So thank you. Thank you for your care. Cassie, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just a quick reminder to our sharers that for interpretation purposes to speak at a steady pace.
Slowly. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
I forgot.
I know we can have our nerves and sometimes just excited to talk, but just for our
I
interpretation.
agree. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for reminding me. I'm glad. Thank you for being here and also for allowing us to explain some of the very complicated things that we do in the process of what seems quite simple from the top, but isn't. The images that you're going to see are from the Africa Creates theme for Wiki Loves Africa. Bakola, if you're managing the slides, could you move forward, please? So this is just a refresher, basically. I think a lot of you might know what we're doing, but I also don't want to assume that you know. So essentially, Wiki in Africa it's not really a user group at all. It's what we are as an organization that creates programs, innovative programs, we like to think, that help to draw African or marginalized content, previously marginalized content, onto Wikimedia projects. And in that way, both encourage and support community growth within the Wikimedia movement, but also to allow people from very different aspects of the world to both view and celebrate different perspectives, but also for those people from those perspectives to see themselves reflected. And so what we hope we have is a whole program of different, a very complex program of different layers of both involvement, but also community growth. So with Wiki Loves Africa, we're now in our 10th year. And not only is it a celebration of African diversity, because it's at its heart, it's a photographic and video and audio contest, but it's also it's helped over the last 10 years to develop the Wikimedia organizers across Africa by having a regular, very focused theme. Each year the theme changes, but it also allows people to grow their skills and increase the community by doing so. We also have training programs and support sessions that help in this regard with organizers. And it draws newbies to the projects as well. So currently it's 75%, the average across all 10 of the contests, but it's historically as high as 88% newcomers. That has its own set of challenges, which is exciting, but it's not, but it's more always a positive. Statistically, we have had nearly 120,000 images that have been contributed from just over 9,200 photographers and contributors. And the usage is basically nearly 20,000 images are across 437 Wikimedia projects. So it's had quite a big impact on the Wikimedia world, and it means that we've had over, I think we're approaching now nearly 2 billion views in the lifetime of the project, on every single view being a change of how people perceive Africa. So this year the theme was Africa Creates, and you can see some of the images, as I've said. Wiki Loves Africa is what it is a gender equity program, and how we do that is we have one training program that's involved in that, which is the development of Wikimedia leaders, female Wikimedia leaders. But then we also have 2 content drives and content creation, which is basically a podcast where we celebrate women within the open space. And then we have content drives, which you might know, which is She Said and the Tell Us About Her project, which is on the Isla drive. I'm happy to answer any other questions. We also have Wiki Challenge, which is a schools program across basically 100 schools in 10 countries across Francophone Africa, mostly. We have one which is in an Anglophone country, which was like an anomaly, but most of them, and those are primary school, which is unusual. I think it's the only open and Wikimedia process that goes through primary school. The Isla tool is our multi-award winning tool, which we can talk about later. And Wikifundi is an offline platform to allow people to contribute and collaboratively work together when, as is so often in Africa, either the data or the access to internet or access to electricity has failed us all. So, and this is quite a regular occurrence for us. Please move forward. Thank you. So the outcomes so far for us in 2024, we always have quite a hectic program for the year, is the rebranding of Wiki in Africa. We've been, as I said, the organization itself has been registered since 2017, but our programs have been running for much longer. So as I said, 10 years of Wiki Loves Africa, and this is the year, so that's exciting. Wiki Loves Africa 2024 Africa Creates. We are about to announce the winners of that, and you should have seen the shortlist that's come through from that. the stats for the theme this year is 14,000 images have been contributed, and there's by 791 contributors. Yeah, so that's been exciting. Let me just share the innovations this year specifically have been, oops, sorry, I'm just sending that. I want to send it to everyone. The innovations this year specifically have been obviously the training program. We've had people encouraged, not just us to do the training, but to encourage people from within the Wiki Loves Africa community, so photographers and videographers, to also assist and to host their own trainings. We provide support from the very beginning when people are planning their rapid grants right up until the very end. We've reconfigured the jury process as well, and we are the first Wiki Loves contest that we know of that has a video jury process. We also, as I said, we're about to, in mid-September, during September, we'll announce the winners per category, but you'll be able to meet all the winners on the 27th of September at Wiki Africa Hour, which is our live program that discusses all matters of Wikimedia. Last night, we had the Wikimania, Future of Wikimania discussion, which was very exciting. Especially as it's coming to Kenya next year. So we're all doubly excited. And then, yes, we had an incredible session with Wiki Challenge, which is, it's Wiki Challenge African Schools, but obviously because it's Francophonie, it's Wiki Challenge École d'Afrique. And I hope I'm not going too fast. We're also just about to launch She Said, which is a Wiki Loves Women project, which has been going now. I think it's nearly now in its 5th year. And on September the 4th, we are having the launch here. So please, if anyone is interested in also joining that, amazing. It's an amazing project because it focuses on having women's thoughts and words heard and present and visible on WikiQuote, but it also draws attention to WikiQuote, which is very unutilized and unsupported. And so things like the processes for metrics and increasing its use within the community. And so those are the kind of like elements that we've been looking at. So if you're interested in getting your community involved in WikiQuote, we know that Imelda last year, the Philippine group had like an amazing process with that. And we're very grateful. We have essentially with WikiQuote, we have over 1,600 participants. The content over the last, all of the things have driven 16,000 new and improved articles about women, quotes from women. And then that's across 18 different languages on WikiQuote. And in fact, some of the languages from WikiQuote have developed and been supported enough to go forward from the WikiQuote incubator into full WikiQuote status. So that's, I feel like She Said has helped to support that, but obviously it's much more about from the community's engagement and their effort. But it's just She Said becomes like a galvanizing factor, and I think that's the important part. Just like Wiki Loves Africa, it's a spark that the community takes on and develops and runs with, which is exciting. The Isla tool has been further developed with the support of the community, and that's been amazing this year. So Isla tool is a micro contributions, mainly through, you can do it, it's on mobile or through the other, thank you, Anthony, and on desktop, but it really works on mobile. And what it is basically assigning Wikidata descriptions to images to make them more useful and more able to be used. And it's run through run via categories. So it's a support tool for Commons and Wikimedians using Wikidata. But what it really does is it makes the images that are on Commons much more easily to be used and better to be found. So like easily found. And a lot of that, anyone who's run a contest, especially with a very large component of newbies, it's a high expectation to ask them to contribute without also demanding that they add categories and descriptions and link to structured data and everything else. So there's only so much we can ask of newbies. From a governance point of view, we've been very, very strong on our processes. This year, we've looked deeply into policies that we've updated and have been approved by the board. And the board has been expanded, and the systems of engaging the board have been improved so that they feel they can feed back better to us. And we do that through things like every 2 months, we send them an email with all of the things that are happening within the organization, but all of the elements that they can get involved with. So they can either watch, or they can share, or they can give feedback on some of the policies that we're reviewing. So it's just a simple thing, but it's made a huge difference in how we engage with the board. And from an accounting point of view, we've been looking at different ways to move away from trusty Google Docs and Google Sheets and move it into a much more kind of automated space. We've been, Noni, who's our amazing administrative queen, she's basically been reviewing different platforms, and we decided on Xero, but we did also speak to all of the EDs across the Wikimedia world to see what they were using as well. So we could get some kind of consensus, because obviously we have very different needs to, say, a commercial entity or just a national NGO. So those were the elements for the outcomes this year. We're constantly, sorry, Bukola, do you want to move forward? I'm not sure how I'm doing on time. The challenges this year is that as the Wikimedia movement evolves into implementing the movement strategy, we're constantly looking at where we fit. And a lot of that is because Wiki in Africa is not a user group. It's a thematic organization, but it also doesn't, it's nothing I or Florence ever does is predictable. And so we're constantly innovating to try and find different ways of approaching things and from different perspectives. So we're still looking at how the hubs and the review of the affiliates and the charter and how that works. And we're constantly trying to see where Wiki in Africa works, but also how we can make it slightly so that not everyone fits into the same boxes. I think that's an important thing that we must constantly be working to see that. Staff onboarding, we have a new staff member who's been amazingly, she's amazing, Donia. She's been working both in Wiki Africa Hour and in ISA tool and for Wikifundi, but it's always an interesting thing. So no matter how how knowledgeable somebody is within the Wikiverse, it always is a very interesting and laborious process to get people on board and how to work with the different processes that you have within an organization, but also with just trying to navigate it, because it's a big space. Okay, 2 minutes. Navigating linguistic regions, again, these are kind of like big elements. We work both in Francophone and and in Anglophone regions, but we also work in Arabic and the Lusophone space, which is the Portuguese, ex-Portuguese colony spaces. That's also, unfortunately, we haven't managed to sort that out yet, but the Francophone and the Arabic spaces, we have linguistic ambassadors for Wiki Loves Africa, and that has helped quite a lot this year in order to make sure that the community is much more appraised of what's going on and also able to feed back on their own terms. With regards to that, we also we have a call currently for translators, which is on our website. I'll give the link just now. And that's also to like ongoing support, which is a paid position. Because yes, as much as we're a volunteer movement, it's a lot to expect somebody to just, constantly and expect the community to constantly feedback or do quite a specialist work. If you want to move forward, please, Bukola. I'm trying to skip through. As I said, Wiki and Africans model is positioning for, it's kind of difficult to sometimes because we float in a different space, or not in a different space, but not in a expected space, that it's difficult to see where we fit with hubs and different elements, but we know that we're completely integrated within the movement itself. But I think there's often perspective differences here. And one of the things that we're looking into is also the financial stability. It's very difficult to get external financing because when you approach different people, people don't understand the inner complexities of Wikimedia or the Wikiverse. And it's also very difficult for people to, they expect the foundation to pay for that. So if they provided funding to the foundation otherwise, then that becomes a problem because then they expect the foundation to pay for it. So it becomes like a double-edged sword. And one of the other things that I haven't put down here, but I'm getting more and more concerned about, and I see it around, and it's not just me, there's other people within our staff and community who are getting worried about this, is the kind of like the foundation, and it's a bit controversial, but it's basically the foundation's staff in some cases are leading community spaces, and we are worried that it's not about the person, but it's about even though they have their community hats on, it's still a power issue, and this is not, I think it's a perception problem, and so that's a worry that we have more in the movement kind of sense. And then the next, hopefully last slide. The needs, it would be nicer if there was like a more facilitated way for us to leverage the communication aspects that the Wikimedia Foundation has. I know that there are some ways of doing that and we have done it before, but it would be easier if there was just a better path towards that and a more obvious path. Fundraising support, I know that this is being done at the moment. Introduction to potential funders would be great, and also give us the validation sometimes that we feel doesn't have, like this small NGO from Cape Town applying to like a big philanthropic place in America, because we can't apply for South African funding because it doesn't apply to South Africa, it applies across Africa. So it's very complicated, that kind of the ask that we have. Critical metric tools are broken, and we know that they are being, there's a program to try and get those fixed, and new tools are coming through, so that at least that's something. And then technical support for the tools that we currently have or need in future. Those are basically our things, but we know. And that's pretty much it. Because if you can just show who are on our team, that's the team, that's who we are. And thank you very much. Thanks for the platform. I'm looking forward to any questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Isla. It's good to hear about all of the great work that Wiki in Africa is doing. And yeah, just trying to switch. Yeah, and I just wanted to say that I got to learn about Wikimedia Commons by joining one of the Wiki Loves Africa earlier when I joined the Wikimedia movement. So thank you so much for sharing all of these great insights, your needs, how you're growing, and how you're thinking more about automating your management processes as well. Sorry, we wouldn't be able to take questions, but if you have any question for Isla, please kindly drop them on the Easy Retro board. I believe one of my team member must have dropped that in the chat. So would like to see all of your questions here, as would create more time for all of these questions to be answered later on during this clinic. So with this, I would like to pass the virtual mic to Imelda. And Imelda would also be sharing a project experience programs from the Philippines. And Imelda, if you will, I would like to welcome you on the virtual space. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicola. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. So, wait. I'm just, yeah, I can see slide. Okay. All right. So, okay. Again, this is Imelda from Wiki Advocates Philippines. And today I would like to share with you our organization's journey as a grant partner of the Wikimedia Foundation. So we have been part of the WMF's grant funding program since 2019, both as individuals and as a group. And just a brief background, Wiki Advocates Philippines is one of the many user groups in the Philippines centered, not yet, centered mainly in the Bicol region. So our programs revolve around gender initiatives. I'm working with Wiki in Africa on She Said campaigns, and also with other organizations in the movement. Yeah, next slide. So this is a timeline of our journey as a grant partner. So we started receiving funding in 2019. Our first project is to develop the local Wiktionary, the Bicol Wiktionary. And through this grant funding, we were able to develop this Wiktionary project out of incubation. So this is the only wiki project developed in the Philippines in the span of 13 years. So it is very big milestone for our team. Also in 2020, we expanded our advocacy to promote Wikipedia in educational institutions. And this is also the start where we start making initiatives in gender and supporting the art and feminism programs. Also, our funding was project based. That's why we need to make a rapid grant proposal whenever we have new activities and campaigns. And in 2021, we expanded even more our programs on elaborate training on language preservations and climate advocacies. And we continue these programs and campaigns annually, doing just a rapid grant until 2023, wherein the community resources team encourages us to plan activities for the entire year and try working under the General Support Fund. Also, in 2024, we received another support from the Movement Strategy Implementation Grant for our leadership development training programs. Next slide. So this is the overview of the funding we receive as team members. So we initially started as individuals, individual program organizers, and then we team up together to form the Wiki Advocates Philippines. So there, as you can see, there was a significant change in the amount we received between 2019 to 2020, because this is the time wherein grant funding was also increased. up to $5,000. So we maximized that support so that we can be able to do more programs that time. Also, we were able to conduct more programs in 2021 since our activities and recruitment were focused online because of the pandemic. And also there was a significant increase in the funding from 2022 to 2023 because we transitioned from Rapid Grant to Community Support Fund, which gave us the chance to employ staffing to help us work on our programs. Next slide. So this is just a highlight of our programs from 2019 to 2021. During this initial phase of our program, community organizing, we focused more on developing our local Wikimedia projects and reaching out to communities because this is the pandemic situation. And through this grant, we were able to provide an avenue for promoting the movement online. So the first 3 years of our work were centered introducing Wikipedia and promoting the movement. Next slide. So in 2022 to 2024, we were able to conduct more in-depth training of our volunteers. We were able to provide an open learning space for our local community while we were also able to continue working in our program. So the support we received enabled us to connect more on the global volunteers through Wikimedia-related conferences. And also it helped us connect more to our local community through in-depth leadership and volunteer training. Next slide. So we list some Wikimedia movement impact and community impact. Through the different support and resources we received, we were able to make a significant impact both in this aspect. So we were able to organize events that will sustain our women empowerment initiatives like helping art and feminism, the GSoC campaign, and developing the Women Network. We were also able to maintain and grow our local Wikimedia projects. Now we have 3 local Wikimedia projects that we are maintaining. And also we were able to establish a track record of projects and campaigns that help us on our application as a user group. Next slide. And also, to ensure efficient use of resources, we set up a community learning hub. It is like a small space where anyone from our community can use the resources that we have. And we also use it as an office and a venue when we have events. So the hub functions as a local library media center for people in our local area. Also, as an organization, we serve as a provider for continuing education for different sectors. We provide training for open knowledge advocates, language and culture preservation, and environmental awareness. We provide learning opportunities for students, teachers, and even out-of-school youth. So right now, we are in the process of building strong linkages with academic institutions in our province. Yes. So like any other organizations, we are also facing some challenges in making this grant funding work, like budget constraints, documenting finances, reporting, and balancing our paid work versus volunteer work. For example, on budget constraints, on our initial rapid grants, we failed to include fees on professional fees that might have helped us maximize our time in running projects and campaigns. And also on our first general support fund, we overlooked the expenses on fiscal sponsorship that led us initially to start with an already limited budget. And next slide. And also on documenting finances, like any other grant funding system, we are expected to report expenses at the end of each cycle. So transitioning as rapid grantees to community support fund grantees, we got a bit confused on the timeline of reporting because previously we were expected to report the expenses at the end of each project. So when we transitioned to the general support fund, we were expecting the same. Unfortunately, our sponsor expected us to report expenses monthly. So there was a time when we spent most of our time preparing the expense report to be able to request for another budget. And also another problem is that our country is that in our country, some establishments offer products and services, but they only issue acknowledgement receipts. So they are not offering official receipts. So it is very difficult to document and provide proof for minimal expenses that don't issue these receipts like fare on local transport. So we're still on the number 3, outcome reporting. Please go to the previous slide. Previous slide.
Imelda,
Slide number 10.
Imelda, if I could just ask to speak a little bit slowly because the interpreters
All right.
are trying to keep up.
Sorry.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Okay, so another challenge is on outcome reporting. Since we are a community of organizers and editors, we find it a challenge to collect data and identify tool to use in our data collection. So we are having a problem between quantitative versus qualitative outcome. So in the previous years, we were only able to track tangible results like pages recreated, edits, and images uploaded. We were unable to record qualitative data like our volunteer experiences and learning. Next slide. So another is the challenge to navigate our different roles as paid staff and volunteers of the movement. So some of our staff work for 30 hours and are doing volunteer work for additional 10 hours. However, some scholarships on conferences only prioritize 100% volunteer Wikimedians. And also, since our budget is limited, we were not able to send representatives on some of the conferences that might have also helped us improve our organization. Next slide. So we list some strategies, some common practices, and some work around on these problems that we identified. Next slide. So on budget limitations, we do a constant checking and realignment of budget, prioritizing activities with more social impact and can be leveraged for future activities. Also, setting up the hub was helpful because it provides us the space to conduct our activities and training. We are now able to recycle supplies and equipment since we are on a longer funding cycle. And also, we try to participate virtually in global movement communications and conferences. So, next slide. Do I still have time? So on documenting expenses, it is very helpful. Going back, I think. Yeah, on documenting expenses, it is very helpful that we are in constant communication with our fiscal sponsor because they help us navigate these challenges on how we are going to do the reporting on our financial reporting. Also, we try to develop our own forms and vouchers for services and providers that don't really offer official receipts. And we try documenting these receipts in duplicate copies for future references. Next slide. And on outcome reporting, we try to devise a simple assessment tool to get an overview of the volunteer experiences for activities that we organize. So when we say volunteers, this is the people who help us from planning, organizing, and evaluating campaigns and our projects. So we also use different tracking tools to maximize the result that we have. So right now we are using the programs and events dashboard, the tracker, and the event metrics tool. So next slide. So for this year, these are the new strategies that we are testing. We would like to collect more qualitative data on movement organizing, volunteer skills development as our volunteer recruitment strategy and retention, and also partnering with institutions beyond academic sector. So I actually, if I have time, I would like to share with you the volunteer report card and share with you how it works and how we use it. I think Anthony can share the link, or I can share the screen, whichever works.
Okay, you can share your screen while I stop.
Great. So this is our volunteer. Can you see the screen? So this is what we call the volunteer report card. This is the report on the confidence and organizing skills of the volunteer that we have. So in this part, this is the basic information of our volunteer, and also this is the average volunteer hours that they have rendered in graphs, so that they are also able to see it. And we have this is the total average of all the months that they have contributed to our team. And these skill charts actually identify their own self-reflection on each activities and programs that we conducted. For example, on She Said campaign, they identified the level of leadership skills that they developed, the on-wiki knowledge that developed, and the on-wiki skills that they gathered doing the program from planning to evaluation. And this rating is actually a metrics for us, the leaders of the team, to identify on how much more they need support. For example, they need more training on gender initiative. They need more consistencies in training education, on the education aspects of our programs, or in the environmental advocacies that we are having, or in the language preservation trainings that we are conducting. So right now, this is uh, I can't share with you the tool yet, because this is very difficult to maintain. This is not very user friendly. So we have a lot of forms to fill out before it generates this kind of image. So we are working on a better way on how to input data so that we can be able to share it more with the movement. But right now, this works for us as an assessment on what kind of help can we do to help our volunteers in their volunteer experience as part of the Wiki Advocates Philippines. So these are the names of all the volunteers that we have. As you can see, it changes, and also on the leadership, on Wiki skills, and on Wiki knowledge that they have. So yeah, I would like to share. Going back to this volunteer, it means that on our activity on the Human Rights Day, we didn't really have any on Wiki skills activity that we have. That's why it's on zero, because we didn't really get to do edits like that, but we were able to share knowledge and train their leadership experience during this event. So that's how you read this graph. So also, if there is a blank, it means that they were not able to participate on that event, or they are not able to provide us a reflection. Yes. So again, these metrics is not their scores. These are their personal evaluation, and it dictates the level of their confidence on how much they can train these initiatives that we are advocating. So that's all on my end. Thank you.
Wow, that was interesting. Imelda, good to see the volunteer reports card. I think I need one now, so as to measure my level of efforts. Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing your programs with us, and also showing us how you were able to transition from Rapid to General Support Fund, and also thinking of different programs that you could also incorporate, and how you've also expanded to having a learning hub. I found this very interesting, and it's good to see the progression. I think we have time for question. We have 5 minutes for questions. So I'll be going over the retro board, or if anyone wants to maybe unmute their mic to speak, this is a good time to ask Imelda just one question while we'll move the other questions to later on during the clinic. And I'm also checking the chat to see if there are any question. This volunteer dashboard is incredible and very valuable. Yeah, so that's a comment from Isla. I find it very, very valuable. Okay, do we have any question? Ready-made question for Imelda while she was presenting from anyone? Okay, let me just try to check the retro board to see if we have anything. Okay, so there's a question that says, what does success for the Learning Hub look like for you, and what has been the greatest impact so far? Imelda, did you catch that?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait. So yeah, for us, the success of the hub actually depends on how many people are actually using, and how many of those people that use the hub actually becomes a volunteer on one of our programs. So that is a very good place for us to recruit volunteers, because when they try to use our resources, we are able to promote to them the activities that we do, and then the next time that we have a program, we are able to invite them. So we have several volunteers that participated on our programs just because they visited our learning hub.
Okay, thanks for responding to that question. I hear Jacqueline, do you have a question for Imelda or Isla? We still have 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you so much for picking up my raise hand, or rather the text message. Yeah, I have a question for Imelda. I would like to find out what was the thinking process behind coming up with the scorecard. Like what inspired you to do that, and how did you come up with that framework, and how did it fit into the context that this way of measurement or recording was most useful for you?
So this is the form that we use for their self-reflection. And the thinking process behind is that I want to identify which among these initiatives actually inspires our volunteers. So for example, not all of these volunteers will be inspired to work on all of the advocacies that we have. But using this form, I think I can identify which of these activities they are much more willing to attend to, and which of these advocacies they are much more willing to work on. So this assessment actually helps me if they are interested as leaders or interested as technical support during our editathons, because there are volunteers who are more very good in organizing, and there are also volunteers who are very good in helping us when we have editathons. And also we have extroverts and introverts, and those extroverts are more willing to work on activities that we have outside of our office, and those other volunteers are much more willing to work when we are inside our office. So I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, I see thumbs up. Thank you so much, Imelda. Like I said, would create more time for all of your questions to be responded to. And now I would like to call on Jay Prakash, who's already have his camera turned on, to also come share about the work they do as their grantees work within the Indic MediaWiki developer user group. So I would be sharing my screen, and Prakash, you have the virtual space to kickstart your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so my name is Prakash, and I have been a Wikimedian since 2015. I joined as the Wikipedia editor, but in 2017 I started contributing to MediaWiki. Yeah, so this is all about me. So I am here along with my group member Gopa Vasan and the Nivas Tamashiki. So they are also here and we three will present this presentation. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a little bit of introduction. So we started this community to solve the technical issues within the Indic communities in 2018 through one conference that is conducted by CISA2K in India. So there we decided we should have some kind of the technical committee which will address the technical issues of the community. So we started Indic TechCom, but in 2020-21, we converted this as the informal Indic TechCom group as the proper formal user group, and we named as the Indic MediaWiki Developers User Group. So this user group is mainly focused to provide the technical support to Indic Wikimedia projects and the community members. So yeah, the Indic TechCom started in 2018, but the user group in 2021. Next slide, please. Yeah, so what we do. So first of all, fixing broken gadgets and the templates, and then developing the new user script gadget based on the community requests, and then developing open source tool for the Indic or the larger Wikimedia community. But mainly our focus is to develop for the Indic communities and their requests. So and helping and supporting in the Lua modules, which is the major issue on the on-wiki content wikis. Then facilitating and implementing the MediaWiki features and developing the automated and semi-automated bots for the community member based on their requirement. And these are just technical activities, but we do the outreach as well. So this is the one technical side of our activities, and second is the mostly outreach and the making the communities to aware about how we can train them for on a self-reliant community on the technical side. So for that we do this we mentor and the support into Google Summer of Code, Outreachy, and the similar programs. And also we have collaborated other communities like the AMFOS. Next slide, please. So it has been 6 years. So we have developed 10 plus user script based on the community request, and we have done a lot of this several online workshop. Major workshop was the having this Indic and then South Asian small wiki toolkits, where we work with the Wikimedia technical engagement team, and we have developed presentation, and we run the per month one workshop. Under that, we invited the the language community users to come there, and they can learn the basic, not the basic, but the basic to advanced thing. For example, developing the templates or fixing Lua issues on their own wiki. So under that, we had a lot of online workshop. Apart from the this online workshop, we have conducted 5+ hackathon or the in-person workshop. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, so last year we have applied for the 1-year grant to Wikimedia. So this is the outcome so far hold significance within that WF grant. So we had done 2 major activities this year till now. One is the Kochi Hackathon 2024 with the AMFOS community, and second is the Guwahati Hackathon 2024. Next slide, please. Yeah, so our first activity was as a part of the Wikimedia grant was the organizing like the collaboration with the AMFOS. AMFOS was the open source software club in the Amrita University. So that group and our user group collaborated, and we had this like 30 hours non-stop hackathon. So this was our first experience to conducting such a long non-stop event. Like 30 hours, it is a lot. So there was a 6 group on the table. They were able to solve like the 20 plus bugs and the feature request for the community people. And the major outcome was to fix the Indic Wikisource stat tools that were broken for a very long time. And the community, Wikisource community have requested multiple time to fix that tool. So that was the major outcome from that hackathon. Next slide, please. So second activity we did is the Guwahati hackathon. So this hackathon was aimed to bring the together the volunteers involved with the various technical spaces and also the non-technical spaces. So it was some kind like we want to have a lot of diversity in that program. So it is not just like the developers, but also we should have the like kind of editors or designer. So like can kind of like the diverse kind of skilled people in that hackathon. So in that hackathon, we had 13 developers from the Wikimedia community, and then 4 developers we have invited from the AMPOS community, which we had the previous activity with them. And then we invited 5 Wikimedia community editors, kind of like the Wikisource or the Wikipedia contributor, so that they can give us some kind of like the insight, like what issues they are facing, and we can work on those things. So major activity was to write the Wikisource contest tool for the global community. So unlike the Wikipedia, which has you can measure the contribution of any person through these like their edit counts or how many bytes they added in the page. So this is just like very simple thing, but Wikisource have a different structure. So to measure the users contribution on the Wikisource, you can't just tell their how much they contributed based on the edits they made. Instead, Wikisource followed this proofreading and the validation. So for that, our tool, this tool was able to capture which user marked any page as the proofreading or the validation, and based on that, it will show the how user contributed in that. I think presentation is not visible.
Is it my internet? Let me try to share again.
Sorry, Jay.
I think
Do you
anyone
want
can
to-
share.
Okay. Anthony's sharing. Thanks.
Yeah, so the major outcome from the Guwahati hackathon was to developing or rewriting this Wikisource contest tool, because I can say it is really very complicated tool, because for writing this tool we have to have writing multiple other component, which is the independent Python packages. So at the end we were able to create this tool for the global community. Yeah, next slide please. Yeah, so here I'm handling over to Gopavasan. It is up to you, Gopavasan.
Hey, thank you, Jay. Hi, everyone. I'm Vasant, and a short intro about me. I have been contributing to Wikimedia Foundation since last 2017. So I started contributing to Wikimedia technical projects, mostly to tools, extensions, and gadgets. So it's been almost I think 5 years approx. I have been into this technical spaces. Yeah, I have also did like Google Summer of Code along with like as well as like I mentored in several rounds of these programs along with other Wikimedia Foundation people, folks, including Google Summer of Code as well and Outreach. So that's a short intro about me and like talking about the challenges and blockers that we have been facing like very recently. So since Jay mentioned like for this particular event, like we got the annual grant and like we have like several activities planned throughout the year. So things got delayed and we started planning all of our activities in the month of Jan and Feb so that like the activities which we have already in mind that we have to execute in the quarter 1, like we couldn't actually execute in the right timeline. So it got delayed a bit. And second thing is like we also like since it's a technical group and most of us as well as the community members like do participate in hackathons locally as well as like globally. So usually like Wikimedia organizes like a Wikimedia hackathon global event like sometime in the month of May. So we have also had certain activities which were planned in the month of May that we couldn't really uh, also think about the Wikimedia global hackathon which will be happening in the same time around. So this timeline, because of all of these events which are already in plan, like our timeline got a bit delayed. So that is one thing which was a challenge to us. And secondly, like for multiple events that we have it in our plan, as well as we have been executing from quite some time, we have been putting lot of time in the logistics part. So for all of this event, like let's say the event is in upcoming October, like we have to start the planning and preparations, like I think almost like 2 months before the event. So that like the event goes like smooth and like yeah, smooth. So like most of these events would be like offline events, like where developers from across the Indic communities will be gathering in one place and we all start hacking on some of the Wikimedia projects. So sure, I will try to complete in time. So like we have been putting a lot of time in like arranging the flights, as well as like talking to communities, like inviting communications, as well as the hotel management and a lot of other things. So that is one thing like it's really taking a lot of time, like our volunteer time. Instead, we could focus on the program as well as like or like the actual tech part of the projects. So third thing we have been facing is the user retention. So in some of the events, we have observed that like our community people do participate and they. So these are like some of the like top challenges that we have been facing, and like to overcome these, like we also have some strategies that are already planned within our community. So one of our community member Nivas will be talking about this. Yeah, over to you, Nivas.
Thank you, Vasan. Thank you, Jay. So yeah, um, I think the challenges that Vasant has mentioned was something that we have been seeing, and this is the first year where we have tried to uh, push on both our programmatic as well as operational capacities. But we realize if the program has to go well, then there is some kind of drop in the operational part that we are going to work on. So that is why what we have thought was we have opted these strategies. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, thank you. So the first one is making some advanced preparations for the next year. Uh, the plan, like Vasant mentioned, we had to start the year a little late because of some preparations. So what we are trying to do is for the next year, we are planning to start some pieces that we can work on asynchronously and very lightweight in the previous year quarter, which is this quarter, and try to streamline it for and try to begin as advanced as possible for the next year. And the second one is having a dedicated logistics coordinator. The challenges on the operational and logistics side was uh, we have been seeing the travel ticket bookings or hotel bookings. So the reservations part have been taking a little time as the communication was going back and forth. Negotiations have been happening and also trying to communicate with the communities as well. So we are planning on having a dedicated logistics coordinator person who will be in touch with the communities as well as who will be in touch with the operational side of things and make our jobs a little easier. And we'll be more focusing on the program and taking up what are the communities looking for from this particular hackathon and kind of bridge that collaboration. The third one is post-engagement activities. I think Vasant has spoken about the retention part as well. So one of the strategies that we are applying this time is try to follow up with them online post the event has been done. So this is to keep them engaged with our program, make sure that they have some of the other activities that they can work on and keep going on. And the fourth one is about budget and expenditure tracking methods to manage the event. So one of the highlights that I think we wanted to work on, I think not highlight, I think one of the things that we wanted to work on was also the budget piece. Yeah, sure. I'll finish off. The budget and expense tracking speed. So this is to understand how much we are spending per activity so that we can manage the overall year grant and make sure that we are well within the budget and try to focus on, which is also why the coordinator and the dedicated logistics part come into picture. So yeah, I think these are the four strategies that we are applying from our previous year learning and want to make a little more program specific program events. The next slide, please. Yeah, so we'll be opening up for questions in case if anybody have. So one question, I think I'll pass it on to the next person, Vasant.
Hey, thank you so much, Jay, for sharing about your grantee work. And it's so interesting to learn how developers can improve Wikimedia projects or also like improving Wikimedia projects. Yeah, because so we have some very interesting question. Maybe you can respond to one of this. So the first one says, what is your approach in recruiting technical contributors? Would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, sure. So currently our main approach to have the workshops. So last year, this year last year and this year we have workshop session with the college club. So it is really very good to have if you start with the college clubs or the group, that would be very high chance of that they will be in the technical spaces and it is easy to board them. So currently we have this Amrita University, we have collaborated multiple times with them and we have did the sessions with them. So currently we are mostly focusing on the college students in the technical side. And apart from that, we are having the hackathon as well. So we just keep eye on if someone is contributing on the Wikimedia technical spaces and are from the Indic region. So we are inviting them as well to attend the hackathon. So currently this is our approach to recruiting the technical contributor in our user group. So second question is just how you have been communicating the impact of your work to the wider or the global community. So one thing I can say, we are currently very bad to communicating our work to the community. So we were not able to we have did a lot of activities, but we will not have the proper way to share our activities to the community, and that is already has been identified by our user group. So in the future we will have some kind of the quarterly report or something in which we will show which send the kind of the email to mailing list plus on the village pump about our activities and what are our outcome from that activities. For example, in the Kochi hackathon, we fixed the Indic Wikisource stat tool, and in the Guwahati hackathon, we have rewrite the Wikisource contest tool, which is very complex tool. So like that, we are planning to have something in place to do some kind of the PR. But currently, we are very bad in that.
Well, thank you so much for responding to the last question. Because before now, I have heard about the user group in only on Meta pages, and like it was really good to hear you really talk about what you've been doing within the user group. Yeah, and yeah, we hope to see more of your work and see more documentation happening around what you've been doing. And now is the time where we respond to all of your questions, and I'll pass the virtual mic to Jacqueline.
Thank you so much, Rukola. Yeah, we have a couple of questions that are collated on the Easy Retro board. Some of them have been answered, for example, the ones by Imelda and Jay. So if you have more questions, please put them in. But what I'll do is I will go through the questions that are for Isla. So there are two here. The first one is, how do you go about supporting campaign participants to ensure you get the quality contributions you mentioned, and also like the adoption of the ISA tool? Maybe I'll pause here and then I'll pass it over to Isla first before I circle back to the next question. Thank you.
Sorry, do you want me to answer, Jacqueline?
Yes, I was hoping
Okay.
you'll answer the
Right.
first, and
Thank
then
you.
I will circle back to the second. Thank you.
Okay, so those are two very clear questions. So first of all, how do we support campaign participants? So what we do is we support them from the very beginning. So we support them through their rapid grant process. We have office hours, which are held in both English and French. We then, from when they're planning the rapid grant literally until the end of the contest. And then we normally have like a closing session. And during the contest itself, we host a range of training sessions, which we either get people from the community to host those sessions, and we also ask people from the community what they need to know. So it changes from obviously from contest to contest. And we have a resources page where we try to keep all of the these training videos and these training sessions on there in order to make sure that people can access them later on, so that they don't have to just join the program, but also that if they want to start their own process or their program, and also so we're not constantly repeating ourselves. Every single year you have new people coming in, and so often you're still explaining new stuff to people, and if you recorded it 3 times, I think that they can probably watch the recording better than it being more boring for the people who already know that stuff. And also it means that we can advance the knowledge further if we're not still going back to the basics. But it doesn't mean that the basics aren't important. So that's that answer, I hope. And also then the adoption of the ISA tool. So basically ISA is on ToolForge. I think the link was shared with you in the chat. And essentially what it is you create your own campaign. So although we run campaigns around Wiki Loves Women, and which is the Tell Us About Her campaign in March, or we also run the Wiki Loves Africa campaign in order to make sure that the images that are contributed to Wiki Loves Africa are then better described better, and so therefore have a higher usage. From all of the Wiki Loves contests, I think we have quite a high usage percentage, better than a lot of the others. So from a quality point of view, I think we have been, from Wiki Loves Africa, that's much more specific, because it's about training people not just to take photographs from the back of a motorbike, but also how to take photographs and ensure. So we have a very key, and we have a masterclass series that's coming up in the next year in order to make sure that that happens. And we have tips and tricks on how to frame, what kind of images we're looking for, those kind of things. And in the back end of the organizers, we also have quite a big team that goes through all of the images and makes sure that quality content is both celebrated by putting them into feature article, feature image spaces, but also, you know, and good images and all of those kind of quality spaces, but also to make sure that we that a lot of the rubbish, basically, for lack of a better term, gets not turfed out, but that it's, you know, that it's not damaging to the community. I hope that answers some of your questions. It's also up to the communities that are hosting these, you know, who are organizing these projects in order to also act as a quality control. And so it's a double-tiered thing in that we train the leaders, and then the leaders pass those skills down to their community. So it's nothing, you know, it's a hard thing to only have quality contributions because it's not really in our control to do so, but we support as much as we can in order to make that happen. Do you want me to answer the other one, or Jackie?
Yes, okay, maybe I'll just read. I know you have it on my screens. Talking about the translation you mentioned, are you looking for someone who can translate certain documents or pages, and into what languages? Does it include indigenous languages, such that a language enthusiast who only understands their native language and would like to translate into that? Yes, and over to you. Thank you.
Okay, so because Africa is not a country, there's over 50 countries in Africa, and thousands of languages, like utterly thousands. It's also not in our, it's not our job or our kind of intention to curate how people, or to kind of organize or determine how people are involved and on what terms they are involved in. So in these projects. So if somebody wants to do get involved in She Said, they can do it in English or French or Portuguese or Arabic, but they can also do it in their own language, which I think is where it's been so powerful. So we have Tagalog, and we have Ibu, and we have many other languages that are underrepresented on the Wikimedia projects that use the She Said as a way of starting their language communities and developing those. And so it's up to the organizers and those communities, local communities, how they wish to engage and on what terms. But in order to be able to communicate, unfortunately, the ex-colonization languages are the ones which make it easier for us to communicate across many different diverse communities and realities, basically. And so the translations that we're talking about are not about necessarily translating directly on the Wikimedia projects, although that is aspects of it, but it's more about interactions with the community, so that I, unfortunately, due to my kind of upbringing, I didn't get a chance to learn French or Spanish or Portuguese, and you know, so I can't really communicate other than English, and that's my problem and my bias. But it is, if I was in any other language, of course, I'd love to be spoken to in the language, so that I understand more the nuances. And we're constantly aware of the privilege of the language we use, but also how we can communicate better and clearly, so that context and nuance are also transferred. And we're hoping that by having this position, we have somebody who will also help us facilitate or support those processes. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for adding your own experience as well, and also letting
Thanks.
us know in wider context that there are so many languages in Africa, especially from people who may not have a full understanding of where you are and your reality. So I do have a new pop-up, a question from Jay, and it says what is the ratio between women/men, okay, technical contributors. And I also want to add to that, like, when you look at recruiting or attracting new contributors, experienced contributors, is it just gender? Like, do you break it up further into geographical, or like maybe focus on youth? Like, could you speak more on how do you try to bring in more contributors, and have you ever looked at the diversity of the background and how does it impact your programs? So over to you, Indic Wikimedia team. Yeah, though that question maybe for Jay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yeah, we are also suffering from these gender gap issues, but like we are trying very hard to keep it uh, at a maximum level. What we can do, for example, in the Kochi hackathon, almost 40% are the females in that hackathon. Plus, in the Guwahati hackathon, almost 30% are the female. So we are trying very hard to have this gender gap, to fill this gender gap. Also, like we are working with a diverse group, so we are trying very hard to get so people from the diverse community, plus like the gender and everything. But there is a like the we are thing that we can't do much thing, because we are having this user retention problem. For example, in our extended group, we had the 2 females and 2 male as the member, but after few months, that both of the girl was drop out from that, because they were not able to work, and they said like we can't continue. So in that way, we are trying to fill that gender gap as much we can do. But yeah, we also having this restriction that we can't go beyond that, because the overall the user retention is very less. So it is not just like the gender, but the overall user retention is not so much. So we are having this problem, and this like this year we will have the multiple brainstorm to think about that, like how can we maintain the gender gap within the our technical user group and the contributors.
Thank you so much, Jay. Thanks for sharing that you have also been really invested in this conversation about gender. Let me circle back to a new pop-up question. I see one for Imelda. So thank you for sharing. There was so much learning that we could distill from your experience. I was wondering if you could share more about how you moved from having 0 full-time staff to more than 1 full-time staff. What were some initial challenges you had to manage or overcome? What learnings or assumptions have you re-examined in the process? Over to you.
Yes, thank you for your question. So employing staff actually depends on how much budget we have as a team. So during our rapid grants, we can't really afford to have full-time staff, but on the general support fund, we tried communicating to the regional grants team and to the community resources team how much we need in order to move forward with our plans, and how can we be able to work effectively with our community. So those full-time staff actually work on different tasks. For example, we have a designer, and we have a program manager, and the executive director position that actually overlooks all of the regional and local partnerships that we need to work on.
Thank you, Imelda, for sharing about your full-time staffing roles now in the organization. I see that we are at time, and I'm going to, at least for this section, so I'm going to pass it over to Anthony and Chinu. Oh, sorry, Veronica has a hand up. Sorry.
No
Thanks,
worries, no
Kathy.
worries.
Over
I
to you,
had
Veronica. Thank you.
Yes, I had two questions, but maybe because of time, we'll just follow up on that. One was for Imelda to understand. It comes back to the report card you shared with us. So I was very curious to understand how you go about it. And why I'm asking this is from where I see it, depending on the number of volunteers you have, it means for you to make the most out of this report card, you're having one-on-one, conversations and check-ins, and maybe even adding to that, like a contributor coaching process. And I'm just keen to understand, what does that look like? What does that mean in terms of capacity for your group, and the, what we call them, the trade-offs for doing that vis-a-vis everything else you could be doing with that time. So that was one for Imelda. And then the second one was to Jay. I recognize the partnership you have with Amrita, has been there for a long time. And I know many groups typically have clubs with universities as a way of recruiting new members. And curious to hear about any best practices you know about, especially because depending on where, that sometimes can be challenging, the university. So it's almost like I'm curious to know, what does this partnership between your user group or your organization and the university look like, that makes it a partnership-based collaboration?
Thanks, Veronica, for asking this. So first, best practice, what we do is to just minimize the like the talking to the college authorities. We want to have like the direct conversation with the group people. So we so that we can't stuck in the loop. Okay, we have to take the permission from the principal or the college or like this. So we directly talk with the club members, so that we can initiate the conversation directly and have the clarity. Okay, what we are gonna do, and what will be the benefit for both of us. For example, usually when you do the this thing activities in the college, a student expects some kind of like the certificate that, okay, we participated in the this thing and this was the outcome. So they expected something from us. So that is the certificate, which is easy to uh, like give them. So yeah, this is this thing, like the first we want to just direct conversation with the people in the club or the university, with the minimal conversation with the college authorities, for example, the principal or someone. Second is we talk about both the benefits. For example, for a student, it is the beneficial for having the certificate, plus they will be exposed to open source community on a big project like the Wikimedia. So we just talk about their benefits, plus our benefits is that this open source software movement will be grow. So yeah, in these things we have to be having the best practices. And then after these things, when we finalize the program and everyone's agree, so we mostly involve in that group in the logistic as well. For example, if they are the local people, they know better, okay, what can be a good option to do and where we can do. So we actively take their engagement in the program as well, for finalizing the logistic and everything. And that leads to be a successful workshop or the hackathon. At least what we have done now, we have this experience.
Thanks for responding to the question. Imelda, would you like to respond to the first question?
Yes. Thank you, Veronica, for your question. I would like to try to answer if I understand it. So, this tool, as I've said, it's still its purpose is to measure the volunteers' confidence, knowledge, and capacity in leadership skills, on wiki knowledge, and on wiki skills. So it also measures the gap that we are providing as a team. For example, our team would like to organize, she said campaign, and then the volunteers said that they lack the skills on wiki skills. It means that our team lack the preparation in preparing them to be trainers of the She Said campaign. So this is what we are trying to measure on what are the skills that we failed to provide to them and the resources that we failed to provide to them as Wiki Advocates Philippines when we are deploying our volunteers. So we would like to see how much confidence they are gaining from us, from the Wiki Advocates Philippines, that they will be able to feel that they are confident enough to be trainers on our programs. So that's what we are trying to assess in this volunteer report card. So we would like to see how much organizing skills they have developed, how much planning skills they get, and reporting skills, and also how much skills they have developed, like creating accounts, navigating errors on the wiki space, something like that. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you. I hear more quality support and less of quantity of reach. So thank you so much. And for everyone, for all you do.
Yeah, thank you. And that leads us to the group reflection, where I will pass to Chino. Hi, am I audible? Chino, you're not audible.
Is it better now? Hello?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chino, there seems to be a background noise. Okay. Okay, are you able to speak now?
Just give me a moment. I'm trying to close the doors and windows.
Okay, Anthony, would you like to take that part?
Sure. So after we've heard from our sharers, it's also our time as participants to share our learnings for the group. So as guide question, what is one thing that you learned that you could use in your work? So you may choose among the three sharers on what learnings would you want to apply in your own community or individual work.
You can also drop your comments in the chats if you wouldn't want to come on mic.
Yeah, so let me just read again the question. What is one thing that you learned that you could use in your work? So say, for example, for Isla, she mentioned about the use of ISA tool in campaigns. And for Imelda, putting up a learning hub in her community. And yeah, you may choose among the programs which best suits your communities or individual work.
Okay, maybe I can break the silence. I think one thing I found useful from this clinic is the idea of the volunteer report card. I think it's something that as a a community coordinator, I would really like to see how maybe that could be part of some of the Wikimedia tools that can be created, just like we have the event registration tool that is making organizers have like a one-stop tool that can help you collate all of the statistics for participants. I think this would also be good if it's something that the product team can come up with maybe an idea of how they can make this available for everyone. And yeah, so that's something I found interesting because sometimes volunteers tend to do a lot of things, and because there's no record or reports to see how this all of their efforts looks like qualitatively, or I mean, in terms of seeing all of the statistics, it makes it very difficult for them to sometimes keep on sustaining the passion or like having that motivation to do more. So I think that's a really good one from Imelda. And also good to hear about all of the things that the technical developers user group are doing. So for me, before now, I used to think they only focus on working with the Indic community. So I never knew that their work also expanded beyond the Indic community or the Wiki source. So I think that was also a good thing to know. And also knowing that even though the technical aspects of Wikimedia can be very difficult for some of us who are not familiar with source code and the likes, they are also trying to encourage that even if you don't have the technical capacity, you can still be part of the user group and you can always find something to do. Yeah, so all those were interesting points, insights from the sharers, which I would look forward to seeing how that's maybe transition or help other people on the call to see how they can key into what they are doing. So yeah, I don't know if we have any other person who would like to share. Okay, Mohammed.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. I actually I'm someone who is interested in commons as well as Wikidata in particular, but the Isla tool, what I've learned about that is something that would help me, that will help my work. I'm currently doing undertaking a project for CC, and that is to document some artifacts from the northern part of Ghana, and I would love to read more about the ISA tool. Though I participated in the documentation of that during the Wikimedia Africa, one of the Wikimedia Africa projects. I was one of the I participated in a team that designed a flyer and then we uploaded it on Commons. And I would like to read more about the ISA tool in order to use it. And also the Imelda, their approaches, how their user group evolve. I love the idea. I love the collaboration from the individual grants period to their annual general support. How they have been able to work together and they still keep going is something I love so much, and I hope all other groups continue to work together in that way. And then the card, the volunteer card that she mentioned, actually is a good thing that I would like to learn more about that. And I asked a question to her, and I wanted to know whether it's like a template, like something that someone could you could just go into the card, put in somebody's name, and then all the information about the contributions of the person is pulled for you to see, or you have to manually document that somebody contributors information on the card. So I'm interested to see how one can work with that card report card.
Yeah, thank you, Muhammad. So we have the recording for this session. I'll be sharing with everyone. And also, Imelda, maybe this will lead us to having maybe like a clinic where you can come show us more about how we can adopt this tool. So just look forward to our invites for a clinic on how to do this, because we see a whole lot of interest in it. Yeah, so our time is fast spent. Thank you all for joining this clinic. However, like our practice, we'll always like to get feedbacks. And that's why we have our Mentimeter, which the link would be dropped in the chat. Yeah, please, can someone drop the link to the Mentimeter in the chat? Okay, yeah, so would like to get your feedback from this clinic. And